Leave a like and subscribe for more scary books.
Bone-Chilling Ghost Stories by Jen Jones. Are ghosts real? It's the million-dollar question. Do ghosts truly exist? Hundreds of legends and reported sightings seem to point to yes. But many people still doubt whether life really continues on the other side. From the sea to a cemetery to a farm, nowhere is safe from things that go bump in the night. Get ready to be totally scared. Chapter 1. Family Curses. Robert the Doll. 4-year-old Robert Eugene Otto, known as Gene, was thrilled when his family's maid gave him a child-sized doll in 1904. Gene named the doll Robert. Robert kept Gene company in his hometown of Key West, Florida. They wore matching sailor suits. Gene insisted that the doll sit next to him at the table. Gene's parents often overheard him talking and fighting with Robert, using a different voice for the doll. One night, Gene's dad was reading the newspaper and heard a terrifying cackle. "Gene, that's enough," he scolded. But when Gene's dad turned around, Gene wasn't in the room. It was only the doll sitting on the couch. Gene's dad thought he must have imagined what he'd heard. One night, Gene's parents were awakened by a thud and Gene's screams. They rushed to his room and found a desk knocked over. Gene sat in the corner, shaking and pointing at Robert. "He did it," Gene said. Robert lay on the bed. The corners of his mouth were turned upward in a creepy smile. Robert, things only got stranger from there. Gene's mom was in the kitchen one afternoon when she saw Robert run past the doorway. Later, a neighbor reported seeing Robert floating outside the window while Gene's family was away. People began saying that the former maid had cursed the doll and the family. In 1930, Gene married Annette Parker. They lived in New York City for several years before returning to the family home in Key West. They spent the next 40 years there. Robert stayed with them in his own room. Robert even went on trips with the couple. When Gene died in 1974, his wife placed Robert in the attic. She then sold the house. The home's next owners claimed that the doll terrorized their daughter. They quickly moved. The maid's curse not only outlived Gene, but also took on a life of its own. Today, Robert the Doll is in a museum in Key West. Legend says museum visitors must ask the doll for permission to take its picture, or risk being cursed forever. For Whom the Bell Witch Tolls. When John and Lucy Bell moved from North Carolina to Tennessee in the early 1800s, things looked promising. Their new home had many acres of farmland next to the Red River. It became a wonderful home for the pair, who eventually had 9 children. One day, in 1817, John was working in the cornfields when he spotted a strange animal. Before him stood a dog with a rabbit's head. He reached for his rifle and shot 3 times as the beast scampered away. Later that evening, scratching and knocking noises were heard against the outdoor walls of the Bell house. The next night, the noises were heard inside the house. The children complained that it sounded like rats were chewing on their bedposts. The invisible terror seemed focused on the Bell children, especially 11-year-old Betsy. During the night, it often ripped off the children's bed covers and threw their pillows on the floor. At first, their parents thought the children were making up the stories, but Betsy changed their minds. Betsy ran screaming into their bedroom one evening. She insisted that the ghost had slapped her and pulled her hair. Lucy gasped as she comforted Betsy. A bright red handprint was still visible on Betsy's face. For years, the evil witch spirit haunted the family. The spirit whispered in their ears and terrorized Betsy's fiancé until he left her. The spirit's final revenge came in the form of John's death in 1820. John Bell's family gathered around him when he became ill. John's family found a small container near his body with a mysterious liquid inside. When they fed some of it to their pet cat, it died almost instantly. It was clear that John had drank the potion and had been poisoned. John Bell Jr. quickly threw the container into the fireplace. The container burst into a blinding blue flame and vanished up the chimney. No one knows why this evil spirit wanted revenge on the Bells, but it certainly achieved its goal. Today, the legend is the inspiration for several movies and books. Beware the Bell Witch. Betsy, a haunted plantation. If you visit the Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana, be warned. You could end up sharing your room with one of several ghosts that reportedly haunt the inn. The most famous Myrtles ghosts is Chloe. According to legend, Chloe worked as a slave for plantation owners Clark and Sarah Woodruff in the early 1800s. Chloe's ghostly image is behind the far right pillar of the front porch. The story says that Clark caught Chloe spying on him one day. He had one of her ears cut off as punishment. From that day on, Chloe wore a green head wrap to hide her scar. Not long after the incident, the Woodruff's oldest daughter had a birthday. Chloe baked a cake for the party. Some people believe Chloe poisoned the cake, killing Sarah and two of the couple's children. However, records show that the 3 family members actually died of yellow fever. No matter how the Woodruffs died, Chloe's fate was sealed. The other slaves were terrified of her. They hanged her from a tree and threw her body into the Mississippi River. They hoped that she would never be seen again. Their wish wasn't granted. A crying ghost wearing a green head wrap can often be seen around the plantation. She's in good company. Guests have also seen ghostly children playing in the halls and a young girl floating outside a window. If you want a peaceful vacation, you might want to stay somewhere else. Chapter 2. Spooky Places. The Helpful Sea Captain. Even friendly ghosts can scare people. At Owl's Head Lighthouse in Maine, a sea captain's ghost is said to watch over the property. His footprints are often spotted in the snow. The lighthouse's brass fixtures are always a bit shinier after his appearances. The first sighting happened in the mid-1980s, when Andy Gurman was the Coast Guard lighthouse keeper. One night, Andy went outside to gather some building materials. Later, Andy's wife, Denise, thought that she felt him getting back into bed. But when she turned over, she saw the outline of an invisible person under the sheets. The next day, Andy told Denise that he'd seen a cloud of smoke float into the bedroom just before the ghostly sighting. The Graham family took over at Owl's Head in 1987. Their 3-year-old daughter, Claire, moved into the room where the most ghostly activity had taken place. Claire soon developed an imaginary friend. She described him as an old sea captain who had a beard and wore a blue coat and sailor cap. One night, Claire's imagination became all too real. She burst into her parents' room, yelling, "Fog's rolling in. Time to put the foghorn on." Claire said she'd gotten the message from her sea captain friend. The Grahams finally got the message too. They left the lighthouse after just 2 years. Today, Owl's Head is known as one of the top 10 haunted lighthouses in the world.
Lighthouses.
The Beautiful Stranger. The Hotel del Coronado in San Diego, California, is a place where all signs point to ghost. Rooms suddenly get unbearably chilly. Strange sounds and smells abound. Footsteps can be heard when there are no people present. Lights and TVs flicker on and off randomly. Breezes blow even when windows are closed. Trace the cause back to November 24th, 1892, when a pretty young woman checked into room 312. She said her name was Lottie Bernard. Lottie told hotel employees that she had come from the Midwest to receive medical treatment. She appeared lonely and unhappy. 5 days later, Lottie's body was found on one of the hotel's back staircases near the beach. She had apparently shot herself in the head. Police searched her room for clues, but failed to find many belongings. They sent a sketch of her face to newspapers and police stations all over the country. They hoped to find out more about her life. The investigation revealed that Lottie's real name was Kate Morgan. She married an Iowa gambler named Tom. One witness said that he'd seen Kate and Tom arguing on a San Diego-bound train days before the body was found. Tom had gotten off the train before reaching the city. No one knows why Kate decided to take her life, but many think it was because Tom never showed up at the hotel. Kate's ghost still has a strong presence at the Hotel del Coronado. Ghost hunters flock there to try to get a glimpse of the lost soul known as the Beautiful Stranger. Kate's room at the hotel is now number 3327.
Whoops. Sound is off.
The Brown Lady.
Sorry,
Life as a
guys, if that
photographer
happened.
can be glamorous and unpredictable. You never know just what you might capture in your lens. In 1936, photographers Hubert Prevent and Indra Shira were taking photos at an English country home, Raynham Hall.
I
That
can't!
day, their lives changed with one click of the shutter. They were preparing to shoot the staircase
I'm busy!
when Shira saw a glowing, veiled figure coming down the steps. Prevent quickly snapped a photo. When the photo was developed, a ghostly figure appeared on the